I'm Jade, a 27-year-old architectural engineer who's been working hard and saving every penny for my first home. My dad remarried Eleanor when I was 17 after my mom passed. Yesterday, while I was on a business trip in Seattle, Eleanor called me in a rage claiming I stole $45,000 from my half-brother Tyler's college fund. Something isn't right, and I'm about to find out what. If you're watching this, let me know where you're from in the comments, hit like and subscribe. And stay tuned to see how I uncovered the truth behind this shocking accusation. Life with just my dad and me wasn't easy, but we managed. I was 13 when my mom lost her battle with cancer. Those days were dark, filled with grief that seemed endless. Dad was completely devastated, yet somehow he pulled himself together to be there for me. Richard Miller, my father, worked as a high school physics teacher. He wasn't making a fortune, but he was passionate about education and made sure I never felt like I was missing out on anything important. For 4 years, it was just us against the world. We developed our own little routines and traditions. Sunday mornings were for pancakes and planning our week. Friday nights were movie nights with takeout. These small things helped us heal together. Dad always made time to help with my homework, attend my school events, and just listen when I needed to talk. We weren't perfect, but we were a team. Then came Eleanor Williams. Dad met her at a fundraiser for the school where he taught. She was volunteering at the event, and according to Dad, they just clicked. Eleanor was attractive, confident, and charming. She knew exactly what to say and when to say it. When Dad first introduced us, she was warm and friendly, bringing me a thoughtfully selected book about famous women architects after I mentioned my interest in architecture. "I'm so happy to meet you, Jade," she said with a perfect smile. "Your father talks about you constantly. I'd love for us to get to know each other better." Eleanor had a son named Tyler, who was 15 at the time. He seemed quiet but polite when we first met. He was into video games and basketball, and while we didn't have much in common, I made efforts to connect with him. I'd ask about his games or offer to shoot some hoops, trying to establish some kind of sibling relationship. The courtship between Dad and Eleanor moved quickly. Within 8 months of their first meeting, they were married in a small ceremony. I was happy for Dad, truly. Seeing him smile again after years of quiet sadness was worth everything to me. I was heading to college soon anyway, so I told myself this was good timing. Dad wouldn't be alone, and I could focus on my studies without worrying about him. But something changed after the wedding. Eleanor's warmth toward me seemed to cool considerably when no one was watching. She became dismissive of my accomplishments, while constantly praising Tyler for the smallest things. If I got an A on a difficult exam, Eleanor would nod and quickly change the subject. But if Tyler got a C+ instead of his usual C, she'd want to take everyone out to celebrate his improvement. "Jade, not everyone can be naturally smart like you," she'd say, with a slight edge in her voice. "Tyler really has to work for his grades. We need to encourage his efforts." The undermining was subtle at first. She'd accidentally forget to tell me about family dinner plans until the last minute. My favorite food stopped appearing in the house. The framed photo of my mom that had always been in the living room was moved to a less visible spot, then eventually disappeared altogether. When I asked about it, Eleanor claimed she'd put it away safely during cleaning. "I didn't want it to get damaged," she explained, never offering to bring it back out. Dad seemed oblivious to these changes. Whenever I tried to talk to him about Eleanor's behavior, he'd get defensive. "She's trying her best, Jade," he'd say. "Blending families isn't easy. We all need to make adjustments." So I adjusted. I focused on my education and spent more time at the library or with friends. I applied for scholarships and worked part-time to save money for my expenses. I was determined to be as independent as possible. After graduating high school, I moved into the dorms at State University, where I studied architectural engineering. I came home for holidays and occasional weekends, maintaining my relationship with Dad, despite the growing tension with Eleanor. During those visits, I noticed Eleanor's control over family finances increasing. Dad had always been careful with money, but Eleanor convinced him they needed new furniture, a better car, and various luxury items that seemed beyond their means. "Your father works so hard," she'd tell me. "He deserves nice things." Despite the challenges at home, I thrived in college. I graduated with honors and landed a job at Westbrook Architectural Solutions, a respected firm in our city. I rented a small but comfortable apartment about 30 minutes from Dad's house, which gave me some independence while still allowing me to visit regularly. My saving habits were methodical. I lived below my means, brought lunch from home, limited eating out, and put a fixed percentage of every paycheck into my house fund. After 5 years of disciplined saving and careful career moves, I had accumulated a substantial down payment for my first home. I was proud of what I'd accomplished on my own. Last month, I received a promotion at work that came with new responsibilities, including leading a significant project in Seattle. It was a huge opportunity that could fast-track my career. The project involved designing sustainable housing solutions for a major development, exactly the kind of work I was passionate about. "This is perfect for you, Jade," my boss said. "Your innovative approach to environmental design is exactly what this client needs." I was ecstatic and called Dad immediately to share the good news. He sounded genuinely happy for me, though I could hear Eleanor in the background asking questions about when I'd be gone and for how long. Dad promised to have dinner with me before my trip to celebrate my success. Unfortunately, that dinner never happened. Eleanor called the day before our planned celebration to say Dad had caught a bad cold and needed to rest. I was disappointed, but understood. I sent Dad a text wishing him a quick recovery and promising to call from Seattle. His reply was brief but affectionate. "So proud of you, kiddo. Knock 'em dead in Seattle." Little did I know that this trip would change everything I thought I knew about my family. The Seattle project was everything I'd hoped for, and more. Our client was Cascade View Developments, a company known for their commitment to sustainable building practices. They were planning a mixed-use development that would include affordable housing units, and my role was to ensure the designs were both environmentally sound and economically viable. The company put me up in a sleek hotel downtown with views of Puget Sound. My room was on the 20th floor, and each morning I'd watch the ferries crossing the water while preparing for the day ahead. Despite the pressure of the assignment, I felt confident and energized. "We're really impressed with your preliminary designs, Jade," said Marcus Chen, the lead developer at Cascade View. "The way you've integrated natural lighting while maintaining privacy for residents is exactly what we've been looking for." Our team consisted of 5 people from my firm, plus various consultants and representatives from Cascade View. As the lead architect on the project, I was responsible for coordinating everyone's input and ensuring our designs met all requirements. The schedule was intense, with meetings running from early morning until evening, followed by revisions and preparation for the next day. On the 3rd day of my trip, we had just wrapped up a particularly productive session with the sustainability consultants. I returned to my hotel room around 9:30, exhausted but satisfied with our progress. I ordered room service, took a quick shower, and was reviewing notes for the next day when my phone rang. Eleanor's name flashed on the screen. This was unusual. Eleanor rarely called me directly, preferring to have Dad make any necessary communication. I hesitated before answering, wondering if something had happened to Dad. "Hello, Eleanor, is everything okay?" "Don't you dare act innocent with me." Her voice was shaking with rage. "How could you do this to your own brother, after everything we've done for you?" I sat down on the edge of the bed, completely confused. "Eleanor, what are you talking about?" "The money Tyler's college fund. $45,000, Jade. $45,000 that you transferred out yesterday. Did you think we wouldn't notice?" My heart started racing. "I didn't transfer any money, Eleanor. I've been in meetings all day. I don't even have access to Tyler's college fund." "Stop lying. The bank confirmed the money was transferred to an account you control. Your father is devastated. Tyler is crying. Is this how you repay us for everything?" My mind was spinning. I had absolutely no idea what she was talking about. I'd never accessed any family accounts, and certainly hadn't transferred any money. "Eleanor, there must be some mistake. I don't have access to those accounts, and I definitely didn't transfer any money. Maybe you should call the bank again and—" "We've already spoken to the bank." She cut me off. "If that money isn't returned by tomorrow, we're calling the police. I always knew you were jealous of Tyler, but I never thought you'd stoop this low." "I want to talk to Dad," I said firmly, trying to keep panic from my voice. "He doesn't want to talk to you right now. He's too upset." I heard movement in the background, and then Tyler's voice came on the line. "You're such a fake, Jade. Always acting so perfect and successful, but then you steal from me. That money was for my future." Tyler, I didn't take any money. I swear I would never do that. Save it. Mom showed me the bank records. Your name is all over them. The call ended abruptly, leaving me in shocked silence. I immediately checked my own bank accounts on my phone, searching for any unusual transactions. Everything looked normal. There were no unexpected deposits, certainly nothing close to $45,000. With shaking hands, I called my bank's customer service line. After verifying my identity, I asked if there had been any unusual activity on my accounts. No, Ms. Miller, the representative said after checking. Your accounts show only your regular direct deposit from your employer last Friday and your usual bill payments. No large transfers in or out. Next, I tried calling Dad's cell phone. It went straight to voicemail. I sent him a text, "Dad, please call me. I didn't take any money. We need to talk about this." No response. By now it was almost 11 o'clock. Despite the late hour, I called my best friend Amanda. "Jade, is everything okay?" Amanda asked, concern evident in her sleep-tinged voice. I explained the situation as calmly as I could, though my voice cracked several times. "That doesn't make any sense," Amanda said. "You've been in Seattle in meetings all day. How could you have transferred money from accounts you don't even have access to?" "Exactly. But Eleanor is threatening to call the police if the money isn't returned by tomorrow. What should I do?" "You need to come home right away," Amanda advised. "This sounds serious and you need to deal with it in person. Can you get on a flight tomorrow?" I glanced at my schedule for the next day. I have a crucial presentation to the full development team at 9 a.m. I can't miss that. But I could try to get on a flight after that. "Do it. This is your reputation we're talking about. And Jade, document everything. Save that text you sent to your dad. Write down everything Eleanor said. This doesn't sound right at all." After ending the call with Amanda, I spent an hour researching flights. I managed to book one that would leave Seattle at 2 p.m. the next day, getting me home by evening. I sent an email to my boss explaining that a family emergency had come up and I would need to return home immediately after the morning presentation. Sleep was impossible. I tossed and turned all night replaying Eleanor's accusations and trying to make sense of what was happening. Around 4 in the morning, a text from Dad finally came through. "How could you do this to your brother?" Those 8 words hurt more than anything Eleanor had said. Dad believed I had stolen the money. Without even hearing my side of the story, he had already decided I was guilty. The next morning, I somehow made it through my presentation on autopilot. Years of professional training kicked in, allowing me to explain our design concepts clearly despite my personal turmoil. I even managed to answer questions thoughtfully, though inside I was falling apart. "Excellent work, Jade," Marcus said after the presentation. "The team is very impressed with your vision. We'd like to move forward with the next phase as soon as possible." Under normal circumstances, this would have been a career-defining moment. Instead, all I could think about was getting to the airport. I briefly explained to Marcus that a family emergency required my immediate return home, promising to continue working remotely until I could return to Seattle. During the taxi ride to the airport, Eleanor called again. I let it go to voicemail, then listened to her message. "The bank is giving us until the end of the week before they involve their fraud department. Return the money, Jade, or face the consequences. Your father is considering legal action." Legal action. My own father. The words felt like physical blows. My flight was delayed by an hour, giving me more time to sit in the terminal and worry. I tried calling Dad again. Still no answer. I left a voicemail. "Dad, it's Jade. Please talk to me. I did not take any money from Tyler's college fund. I'm coming home today to sort this out. I love you." By the time I landed back in my home city, it was nearly 7 in the evening. I took a rideshare directly to Dad and Eleanor's house, determined to clear my name. When I arrived, I was shocked to discover my key no longer worked in the front door. They had changed the locks. I rang the doorbell repeatedly. Through the side windows, I could see lights on inside, but no one came to the door. Mrs. Peterson, the elderly neighbor from across the street, was walking her small dog and noticed me standing on the porch. "Jade, dear, is everything all right? I've been ringing for 5 minutes, but no one's answering." "I'm sure they're just busy, Mrs. Peterson," I replied, embarrassed that she was witnessing this scene. "I just got back from a business trip." "Well, I saw your father and Eleanor leave about an hour ago. Tyler might still be home, though." I thanked her and waited until she continued her walk before checking the hiding spot where we'd always kept an emergency key. To my relief, it was still there tucked inside a fake rock in the garden. I used it to let myself in. The house was quiet, but I could hear faint sounds coming from Tyler's room upstairs. I called out as I entered. "Hello, Dad. Eleanor, Tyler, it's Jade." Footsteps thundered down the stairs, and Eleanor appeared, her face a mask of outrage. "How dare you break into our home? Get out before I call the police." "I didn't break in. I used the spare key, which I've always had permission to use. And this is still my father's house, too." Tyler appeared behind Eleanor, phone in hand, apparently recording the confrontation. Eleanor stepped back dramatically, placing herself behind Tyler as if for protection. "See how she just walks in threatening us? I don't feel safe, Tyler. Call your father." "I'm not threatening anyone," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I'm here to talk about these accusations. I did not take any money from Tyler's college fund." "The bank records say otherwise," Eleanor snapped. "We have proof." "Then show me this proof. Let me see the bank statements and transaction records." "I don't have to show you anything. You're trespassing." Before I could respond, we heard the front door open. Dad walked in, stopping short when he saw me. The look on his face, disappointment, anger, and something like shame cut deep. "Jade," he said flatly, "I didn't know you were coming home." "I tried to tell you. I've been calling and texting, but you haven't responded." "Richard," she broke in, Eleanor said quickly. "She's been threatening us." Dad looked between us, clearly uncomfortable. "Jade wouldn't threaten anyone, Eleanor." "Thank you," I said, relieved that he at least defended me on that point. "Dad, I need to talk to you about this money situation. I did not take anything from Tyler's college fund. I've been in Seattle in meetings all day when this transfer supposedly happened." "Then how do you explain the bank records?" Dad asked. "The money was transferred to an account with your name on it." "What bank records?" "No one has shown me anything. And I checked all my accounts. There have been no unusual deposits. Let me see these records you're talking about." Eleanor crossed her arms. "They're private financial documents. I don't need to show them to someone who's already violated our trust." "Dad," I pleaded, "does that make any sense to you? If there's actual proof I did something wrong, why won't she show it? I think we should all go to the bank together tomorrow and sort this out." Dad looked uncertain. "Eleanor handles most of our banking now. She says the transfer is clearly traced to you." "And you're just taking her word for it without even talking to me first?" "The evidence was pretty convincing, Jade." I took a deep breath. "Dad, when did you last check the account yourself? Do you have online access?" A flicker of doubt crossed his face. "Eleanor manages the online banking. She says it's more secure if fewer people have access." That struck me as odd. Dad had always been meticulous about finances. "So you haven't actually seen these transfers yourself, just what Eleanor told you about them." "Richard, are you going to let her stand there and accuse me of lying?" Eleanor's voice rose dramatically. "After everything I've done for this family." I noticed something else that seemed strange. "Eleanor, you mentioned new furniture last time I visited. And isn't that a new designer bag? Those things are expensive." Eleanor's face flushed. "How I spend my own money is none of your business." "And Tyler," I continued, looking at my half-brother, "that's a pretty high-end gaming setup you've got now. And those shoes you're wearing cost at least $300. I know because I considered buying the same brand, but decided it was too expensive." "Mom bought them for me," Tyler said defensively, "for getting better grades." "Interesting timing," I said. "And Eleanor, didn't you mention going to some kind of health retreat last month? Those aren't cheap either." "Stop trying to change the subject," Eleanor shouted. "This isn't about my spending. This is about you stealing Tyler's future." "I'd like to see the family computer," I said to Dad. "If Eleanor manages the online banking from here, there should be records in the browser history." "Absolutely not," Eleanor interjected before Dad could respond. "That computer has private information, work emails, personal correspondence." Dad looked torn. "Jade, maybe we should all take a step back and cool down. We can discuss this tomorrow when everyone's calmer." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Dad, I flew back early from the biggest project of my career because of these accusations. I didn't take any money. I would never do that, especially not to Tyler. Please, just look at the evidence yourself instead of letting Eleanor filter everything for you." Dad rubbed his face tiredly. "I think you should go now, Jade. We'll sort this out later." Tears stung my eyes as I realized I wasn't going to get through to him tonight. Fine, I'll go. But this isn't over. I'm not going to let false accusations ruin my reputation or my relationship with you. As I walked to the door, I heard Eleanor whisper loudly enough for me to hear. See how defensive she gets, classic guilty behavior. I left with tears streaming down my face, feeling more betrayed than I ever thought possible. The next morning, I met Amanda for coffee. I hadn't slept all night, and I knew I looked terrible. Amanda took one look at my face and immediately ordered me a double espresso. That bad, huh? Worse, I said, recounting the previous night's confrontation. Dad won't even look at the evidence himself. He's just taking Eleanor's word for everything. Amanda stirred her coffee thoughtfully. You know my Uncle Mark is a lawyer. He specializes in family law, but he might have some advice on how to handle this. Want me to give him a call? I hesitated. I don't want to escalate things, Amanda. This is family. Jade Eleanor is threatening to go to the police. This is already escalated. You need to protect yourself. She was right, of course. Okay, call him. Uncle Mark, who wasn't actually my uncle, but had been a close friend of my parents since before I was born, agreed to meet us at his office an hour later. He was a tall, imposing man with kind eyes and a reputation for being both fair and formidable in legal matters. Jade, he greeted me with a warm hug. I'm so sorry about what you're going through. Amanda gave me the basics, but I'd like to hear everything from you. I explained the situation in detail, showing him the texts from Dad and the voicemails from Eleanor. Mark listened intently, taking notes, and occasionally asking for clarification. This is very concerning, he said when I finished. What Eleanor is doing could constitute several serious offenses, making false accusations, potentially committing fraud herself, and then threatening you. What should I do? First, we need to gather evidence through proper channels. I'll help you contact the bank's fraud department. If money was actually transferred from the college fund, they can trace exactly where it went. If it went to an account with your name, we need to determine if that account actually belongs to you, or if someone created it fraudulently. Eleanor claims to have proof, but won't show it to anyone. Mark nodded. That's a red flag. If she had legitimate evidence, she'd be taking it to the authorities, not just making threats. I'm also concerned about how she's isolated your father from the family finances. That's a common tactic in financial abuse. Financial abuse, Dad? It happens more often than you might think, and not just to women. If Eleanor has taken control of the accounts, is making financial decisions without consultation, and is preventing your father from accessing information, those are warning signs. Mark warned me that Eleanor might escalate her behavior when challenged. People who manipulate often become more extreme when they feel their control slipping. She might try to damage your reputation, turn family members against you, or create dramatic scenes to distract from the real issues. We spent the next few hours making calls. Mark used his professional connections to expedite a meeting with the bank's fraud investigation team. They couldn't give us specific account information without proper authorization, but they confirmed something important. The transfers in question had come from an IP address associated with Dad and Eleanor's home internet connection, not from Seattle where I had been. That's significant, Mark said. It proves you couldn't have made those transfers personally. You were 3,000 miles away. We also discovered that Eleanor had requested to be added to all of Richard's accounts just 2 months earlier, including Tyler's college fund, which had previously been in Richard's name only. I showed Mark photos I'd taken on my phone during my last few visits to Dad's house, documenting Eleanor's new purchases, designer clothes hanging in the open closet, the new furniture, Tyler's expensive gaming equipment. Good thinking, Mark said. Keep documenting everything. We'll build a case methodically. The possibility of pressing criminal charges came up, but I felt conflicted. She's still Tyler's mother, and Dad chose her. I don't want to destroy my relationship with them. I understand, Mark said gently. But consider this: if Eleanor has stolen this money, she's already harming Tyler and your father. Sometimes the kindest thing we can do for people we love is to stop someone from taking advantage of them, even when it's painful. Mark called Dad directly from his office, putting the call on speaker so I could hear. Richard, it's Mark Lawson. I'm calling about a serious matter involving Jade. Dad's voice sounded tired. Mark, what's this about? I'm representing Jade regarding the accusations Eleanor has made. We've been in touch with the bank, and there are some serious discrepancies in Eleanor's story. The transfers were made from your home IP address, while Jade was demonstrably in Seattle. Eleanor said the bank confirmed it was Jade, Dad said, but I could hear doubt in his voice. They confirmed no such thing, Richard. In fact, their preliminary investigation suggests someone in your house made those transfers. I'm concerned that Eleanor may be manipulating you and misusing your funds. That's ridiculous, Dad protested, but with less conviction. Eleanor would never steal from us. Richard, when was the last time you personally checked your accounts or Tyler's college fund? As your friend, I'm asking you to look into this yourself, not just take Eleanor's word for it. There was a long pause. I'll check, Dad finally said. One more thing, Mark added. Eleanor has been making serious accusations against your daughter without evidence. If she continues, we'll have no choice but to consider legal action for defamation and false accusations. I hope it doesn't come to that. After the call ended, Mark turned to me. He's listening even if he doesn't want to admit it yet. Now we need to formalize things. I recommend we file a police report about the false accusations and possible fraud. I agreed, feeling more confident with Mark's support. Before leaving his office, we had a detailed plan in place. I felt for the first time since this nightmare began that I might actually be able to clear my name. As I was leaving, Mark put a hand on my shoulder. Jade, this won't be easy. Family conflicts never are, but standing up for the truth is always the right choice, even when it hurts. I nodded, fighting back tears. Thank you, Uncle Mark. I don't know what I would have done without your help. Your mother would be proud of your strength, he said quietly. She never let anyone push her around either. Those words gave me the courage I needed for what was coming next. The following morning, Mark and I met with a detective who specialized in financial crimes. Detective Sarah Ramirez listened carefully to our account and reviewed the evidence we'd gathered. Unfortunately, this type of family financial fraud is increasingly common, she told us. The good news is that banks have become much better at tracking and recovering funds in these cases. We filed an official police report detailing Eleanor's accusations and the evidence contradicting her claims. Detective Ramirez assured us she would subpoena the bank records to determine exactly where the money had gone. In the meantime, she advised minimize contact with Eleanor. If she tries to communicate with you, document everything, but don't engage unless your lawyer is present. Word of the police investigation reached Eleanor quickly. Her response was to launch a social media campaign painting me as mentally unstable and vindictive. Heartbroken that my stepdaughter has turned on our family, she posted alongside a photo of her dad and Tyler looking somber. Sometimes the people you try hardest to help are the ones who hurt you most. Tyler contributed by posting the edited video he'd taken during our confrontation at the house. The clip showed only my angry response, not Eleanor's provocations that led to it. My sister broke into our house and threatened my mom, his caption read. Now she's making up lies because she got caught stealing my college money. The post spread quickly through the local community. Friends of the family, parents of Tyler's classmates, and even some of Dad's colleagues saw them. It was humiliating to know people were reading these lies and possibly believing them. Dad called that evening, sounding desperate. Jade, can't we resolve this privately? Eleanor is upset about the police involvement. She says if you just admit what happened, we can handle it within the family. Dad, I can't admit to something I didn't do. Have you checked the accounts yourself yet? The bank says they can't give me information right now because of the fraud investigation. That's not true. You're the account holder. They can't deny you access to your own accounts. Eleanor is lying to you, Dad. There was a long pause. She says you're trying to turn me against her, that you've never accepted her as part of the family. Dad, this isn't about accepting Eleanor. This is about $45,000 missing from Tyler's college fund that she's trying to blame on me. Please talk to Detective Ramirez yourself. She can show you what they've found so far. I don't want the police involved in our family business, Jade. Neither do I, Dad. But Eleanor started this by threatening to call them on me for something I didn't do. He sighed heavily. I'll think about it. The next day brought a significant breakthrough. Detective Ramirez called to inform us that the bank had frozen the accounts pending their investigation, having found evidence of suspicious transfers beyond the initial $45,000. We've also discovered something concerning she added. Eleanor Johnson, before she married your father, was Eleanor Winters. Under that name, she was investigated for similar financial irregularities during her divorce from Tyler's father. The case was settled privately, but the pattern is almost identical. This was shocking news. Does she have a gambling problem or something? I asked. We're looking into that possibility. There have been numerous cash withdrawals at locations near casinos. Further investigation revealed that Eleanor had opened several credit cards in Dad's name without his knowledge. The total debt was staggering, over $30,000 across 4 cards, all maxed out. Mark arranged a meeting with the district attorney to discuss the case. The evidence was mounting, and the DA believed there were grounds for criminal charges against Eleanor. Despite Detective Ramirez's advice to avoid contact, Eleanor began sending me direct messages. They started almost pleadingly. Jade, we can work this out. Your father is devastated by what's happening. Think about your family. When I didn't respond, the tone changed. You've always been jealous of what your father and I have. This vindictive behavior will only show everyone who you really are. And finally, threats. If you continue with this, I'll make sure Richard never speaks to you again. Is that what you want? To lose your father forever? I forwarded all these messages to Detective Ramirez and Mark without responding. A surprising call came from Tyler's school counselor, Mr. Barnes. He introduced himself and explained that Tyler had been showing signs of extreme stress. He mentioned some financial and legal issues at home, Mr. Barnes said carefully. I'm calling because Tyler specifically mentioned feeling caught in the middle between you and his mother. I wondered if you might provide some insight that could help us support him. I was careful not to reveal details of an ongoing investigation, but expressed my concern for Tyler's well-being. Tyler is not responsible for any of this. I hope he knows that. That's part of what's troubling him, Mr. Barnes said. He's starting to question some things his mother has told him. He mentioned she asked him to delete some emails from the family computer recently, which made him uncomfortable. I thanked Mr. Barnes for reaching out and asked him to let Tyler know I was available if he wanted to talk. This was the first indication that Tyler might be starting to see through Eleanor's manipulations. At work, my boss had been understanding about my sudden return from Seattle, especially when I continued to work remotely on the project. My colleagues from the Seattle team checked in regularly, offering support and expressing confidence in my professional abilities, despite the personal turmoil. After nearly a week of investigation, Dad finally reached out to meet privately. We arranged to meet at a coffee shop halfway between our homes. When he arrived, I was shocked by his appearance. He looked like he had aged years in just days, with dark circles under his eyes and a defeated slump to his shoulders. Dad, I said, hugging him tightly. I've been so worried about you. He held on longer than usual before sitting down across from me. I checked the accounts, he said without preamble, or tried to. All the passwords have been changed. When I called the bank, they said Eleanor had been listed as the primary contact for all notifications. Did you tell them you're the account holder and want access restored? Yes, they're working on it. He stared into his coffee. Mark sent me copies of the preliminary findings from the bank investigation. The transfers, they all happened while you were in Seattle, from our home computer. Yes, I said gently. And that's just the beginning, Dad. There's more you need to know. I showed him the complete file Mark had prepared, including the evidence about Eleanor's previous financial issues, the credit cards in his name, and the pattern of spending that aligned with the missing funds. Dad's hands trembled as he read through the documents. I don't understand. Why would she do this? We're not rich. I'm a teacher, for God's sake. I think she might have a gambling problem, Dad. The detective found evidence of cash withdrawals near casinos. He closed his eyes briefly. The weekends she said she was visiting her sister in Springfield. There's a casino there. I'm so sorry, Dad. No, I'm the one who should be sorry. I didn't believe you, Jade. I took her word over yours without even checking. What kind of father does that make me? A human one, I said, reaching for his hand. Eleanor is very convincing. She manipulated all of us. Dad looked up, his eyes shining with unshed tears. There's more. Things I've been noticing but didn't want to acknowledge. Small withdrawals from our joint checking account that Eleanor said were for household expenses. The way she always intercepted the mail, especially bank statements. And He hesitated. What is it, Dad? Some of your mother's jewelry is missing. Pieces I was saving for you. Eleanor said she took them to be cleaned, but that was months ago. The mention of my mother's jewelry hit me hard. Those pieces were irreplaceable, filled with memories and significance beyond their monetary value. We'll find them, I promised, though I wasn't sure if that was possible. What do we do now? Dad asked, looking lost. We confront her, together, with all the evidence. No more hiding, no more manipulation. Dad nodded slowly. I need to do this, for Tyler's sake as much as anything. He deserves the truth. We made a plan to meet at the house the following evening. Mark would join us to provide legal support, and Dad would ensure both he and Tyler would be home. As we parted, Dad hugged me again. I don't deserve your forgiveness, Jade, but I'm asking for it anyway. You have it, Dad. Always. We're going to get through this together. The house was quiet when we arrived the next evening. Mark had coached us on keeping the confrontation calm and focused on the evidence rather than emotions. Dad had texted to confirm that both Eleanor and Tyler were home, though Eleanor was apparently unaware that I would be coming. Dad let us in looking nervous but determined. Tyler sat in the living room engrossed in his phone. He looked up as we entered, his expression turning wary when he saw me. What's she doing here? He asked Dad. We all need to talk, son, Dad replied. Where's your mom? Upstairs. She said she had a headache. Dad called up the stairs. Eleanor, can you come down? We need to talk. A few moments later, Eleanor appeared dressed impeccably as always. Her composed expression faltered when she saw me and Mark standing in the foyer. What is this, Richard? Why are they here? Her voice was pitched perfectly between confusion and indignation. Please come sit down, Dad said quietly. We have some things to discuss. Eleanor's eyes darted between us, calculating. She slowly descended the stairs, maintaining her poise. I don't appreciate being ambushed in my own home. This isn't an ambush, Eleanor, Mark said. This is an opportunity to address some serious concerns before they escalate further. We moved to the dining room table where Dad had placed a folder containing all the evidence we'd gathered. Tyler followed, looking increasingly uncomfortable. Maybe Tyler shouldn't be here for this, Eleanor suggested, reaching for her son's arm. I think he should, Dad countered. This affects his future too. Eleanor sat down reluctantly, perching on the edge of her chair, as if ready to flee at any moment. What is this about? Dad opened the folder. It's about the missing money from Tyler's college fund, and about who really took it. We've already established that Jade transferred that money, Eleanor said dismissively. I don't see why we need to rehash this, especially with a lawyer present. The bank's fraud department has confirmed that the transfers were made from this house while Jade was in Seattle. Dad replied, his voice steady. The IP address matches our home internet connection. Jade couldn't have made those transfers, Eleanor. Someone must have hacked our Wi-Fi, Eleanor said quickly. Or maybe she accessed it remotely somehow. Mark placed a document on the table. This is a record of Jade's meetings in Seattle with timestamps and multiple witnesses who can confirm her presence. She was presenting to a room full of people at the exact time the transfers occurred. And here, Dad continued, placing another document down, is the bank's record showing that you, Eleanor, requested exclusive access to all our accounts 2 months ago, including Tyler's college fund. You told me you were just updating our contact information. Eleanor's composure began to crack. You're twisting things, Richard. I was trying to simplify our finances for both of us. By removing my access, by changing all the passwords. Dad's voice rose slightly before he controlled it again. Tyler was watching the exchange intently, his earlier defensiveness giving way to confusion. Mom, what are they talking about? Eleanor turned to Tyler, her expression softening. Nothing for you to worry about, sweetheart. Your father is just confused about some banking details. It's more than that, Dad said, placing another document on the table. This is a list of cash withdrawals from our accounts made at ATMs near Springfield Casino over the past 6 months, totaling over $20,000, during weekends when you said you were visiting your sister. Eleanor's face flushed. How dare you spy on my movements? And these, Dad continued relentlessly, are statements from 4 credit cards opened in my name without my knowledge, all maxed out, $32,000 in debt that I knew nothing about. Tyler looked stricken. Mom, is this true? Eleanor's performance shifted dramatically. Tears filled her eyes as she reached for Dad's hand. Richard, please. I can explain everything. I've been under so much pressure. You don't understand what it's like trying to maintain the lifestyle you and Tyler deserve. By stealing from us. Dad pulled his hand away. By stealing Tyler's college fund. By blaming my daughter. I was going to replace it, Eleanor insisted. I just needed some time. The investments I made didn't work out as planned. Investments, Mark interjected. The casino is not an investment, Mrs. Miller. Eleanor's face hardened. This is all Jade's fault. She never wanted me in this family. She's turned you against me, Richard. After everything I've done for you for this family. Tyler stood up suddenly. Did you take my college money, Mom? The directness of his question seemed to startle Eleanor. She looked at her son momentarily speechless. Tyler, it's complicated. Adult finances are… Just answer the question, Tyler insisted. Did you take it? In that moment, Eleanor seemed to realize she was losing control of the narrative. Her shoulders slumped slightly. I borrowed some money. Temporarily. I was going to put it back. The admission hung in the air. Tyler stared at his mother in disbelief. And then you blamed Jade. You made me think she stole from me. You had me make that video. I was protecting you, Eleanor said desperately. I needed time to fix things. By destroying my relationship with my sister, Tyler's voice cracked. By lying to everyone. Dad placed a gentle hand on Tyler's shoulder. Son, there's more you need to know. Your mother has struggled with gambling in the past. There was a similar situation during her divorce from your father. Tyler's face went pale. What? Eleanor shot to her feet. That's a lie, Richard. How could you say such things in front of my son? Mark slid another document across the table. Court records from your divorce, Mrs. Miller. Your ex-husband made similar allegations about misappropriated funds. Tyler looked devastated. Is that why Dad never wants to talk to you? Is that why he barely sees me? Before Eleanor could respond, the doorbell rang. Dad went to answer it, returning a moment later with Detective Ramirez and another officer. Eleanor Johnson Miller, Detective Ramirez said formally. We have a warrant for your arrest on charges of fraud, identity theft, and filing false police reports. Eleanor backed away from the table. This is ridiculous, Richard. Are you going to let them do this? Dad looked at her with immense sadness. You stole from our son. You tried to destroy my daughter's reputation. You lied to all of us. What did you expect would happen? I can explain everything, Eleanor insisted as the officers approached her. This is all a misunderstanding. You'll have the opportunity to explain to a judge, Detective Ramirez said, taking out handcuffs. Please turn around and place your hands behind your back. Tyler turned away, unable to watch as his mother was handcuffed and read her rights. I went to him tentatively, placing a hand on his arm. I'm sorry, Tyler. I'm so sorry you have to go through this. He didn't respond, just stared at the floor as Eleanor was led from the house, still protesting her innocence and blaming everyone but herself. After the police left, the three of us sat in stunned silence. Tyler finally spoke, his voice small. Where am I supposed to go now? Dad moved to sit beside him. This is your home, Tyler. Nothing changes that. Tyler looked unconvinced. But all the money's gone. My college fund. We'll figure something out, Dad assured him. I promise. I can't stay here tonight, Tyler said suddenly. Not after… Can I call Jason? Stay at his house for a few days? Dad nodded, and Tyler quickly retreated upstairs to pack a bag. When we were alone, Dad covered his face with his hands. What have I done, Jade? I brought that woman into our lives. I believed her over you. I let her steal from us from Tyler. You couldn't have known, Dad. Eleanor is clearly practiced at manipulation. She fooled a lot of people. But I'm his father. I'm supposed to protect him. Instead, I let her destroy his trust, his security, everything. I moved to sit beside him, putting my arm around his shoulders. We can rebuild, Dad. It won't be easy, but we can do it together. Tyler will come around. He just needs time. Dad looked at me, his eyes red-rimmed. When did you become so wise? I had a good teacher, I said, squeezing his shoulder. A teacher who always told me that honesty and integrity matter more than anything else. Tyler came downstairs with a backpack. Jason's mother was waiting outside to pick him up. Before leaving, he paused by the dining room table where all the evidence of his mother's deception was still spread out. "I don't understand," he said quietly. "Why would she do this?" "Addiction is a powerful disease," Dad explained gently. "It doesn't excuse what she did, but it might help explain it." Tyler nodded absently. "I should have known something was wrong. All those gifts, the expensive stuff. We never had things like that before. None of this is your fault," I told him firmly. "None of it." He looked at me, really looked at me for the first time since I'd arrived. "I'm sorry for what I said about you, for that video. You believed what your mother told you. I understand." Tyler left with Jason's family, promising to call Dad the next day. After he was gone, Mark helped us gather all the documentation. "The bank will try to recover what they can," he explained. "But financial fraud cases can be complex, especially when gambling is involved. Cash withdrawals are particularly difficult to recover." "What happens now?" Dad asked. "Eleanor will be arraigned tomorrow. Given the evidence, I expect she'll be offered a plea deal. First-time offenders in financial crimes often receive reduced sentences if they agree to counseling and restitution." When Mark left, Dad and I sat together on the sofa, emotionally drained, but somehow lighter for having the truth exposed. "I don't know if Tyler will ever forgive me," Dad said. "He will," I assured him. "He's hurt and confused right now, but he knows you love him. That counts for a lot." Dad reached for my hand. "What about you, Jade? Can you really forgive me for doubting you?" "Already done," I said, squeezing his hand. "Family sticks together, right? That's what you always taught me." For the first time in days, Dad smiled. It was small and sad, but genuine. "Right. Family sticks together." 6 months after Eleanor's arrest, our lives had begun to find a new rhythm. Eleanor had accepted a plea deal that included restitution, 2 years of probation, and mandatory counseling for gambling addiction. She was also required to attend financial management classes. The legal process had been draining for everyone, but it had also brought clarity and eventually healing. Tyler had moved back home after a week at Jason's, though he remained quieter and more introspective than before. I made a decision that surprised even me. Using a portion of my house savings, I established a small college fund for Tyler. It wasn't enough to replace everything that had been lost, but it was a start. When I first told Tyler about it, he was resistant. "I don't want your money, Jade. It's not your responsibility." "It's not about responsibility," I explained. "It's about family. You're my brother Tyler. I care about your future." He studied me suspiciously. "Even after everything, the video, the accusations, that wasn't you. That was Eleanor manipulating you just like she manipulated all of us." Gradually, Tyler began to accept my support not just financially, but emotionally as well. He started coming to me for advice about school and friends, slowly building the sibling relationship we'd never really had before. Dad worked with a financial advisor to rebuild some security. It wasn't easy. Eleanor's actions had left him with significant debt and a damaged credit score, but he approached the challenge with the same quiet determination he'd shown after my mother died. We all attended family therapy sessions, which helped address the deeper wounds caused by Eleanor's betrayal. These sessions weren't always comfortable, but they were necessary. "I keep thinking about the warning signs I missed," Dad confessed during one session. "The secretiveness about money, the emotional manipulation, the way she isolated me from friends and family. How did I not see it?" "Because she made sure you were looking in other directions," our therapist explained. "People who manipulate others are often skilled at creating distractions and playing on emotions like guilt and loyalty." For Tyler, therapy provided a safe space to process his complicated feelings about his mother. "Sometimes I still miss her," he admitted. "Does that make me stupid?" "It makes you human," the therapist assured him. "You can recognize someone's harmful actions and still care about them." Over time, Dad and I rebuilt our relationship on a stronger foundation of trust and open communication. He apologized repeatedly for believing Eleanor over me, and I reassured him just as repeatedly that I understood and forgave him. "I never want to come between you and your happiness, Dad," I told him during a walk around the park one crisp autumn day. "I just want that happiness to be based on honesty." I know that now, he said, and I promise to listen to my brilliant daughter more often in the future. The family home held too many painful memories, so Dad decided to sell it and move to a smaller apartment closer to his school. Tyler and I helped him pack a process that became therapeutic as we rediscovered family photographs and mementos that Eleanor had tucked away in closets and attics. Look what I found, Dad called one afternoon, pulling a dusty box from the back of the garage. Inside was the framed photo of Mom that had disappeared from the living room years ago, along with several of her journals and letters. She didn't throw them away, I whispered, touching my mother's handwriting with trembling fingers. No, Dad said softly. Just hid them where she thought we wouldn't look. Work continued to be a bright spot in my life. My boss had been understanding throughout the ordeal, and the Seattle project had been a success despite my sudden departure. I received a significant bonus, which I split between Tyler's college fund and my own house savings. You deserve every bit of this success, my boss told me when announcing the bonus. The way you maintained your professionalism through personal challenges was remarkable. Eleanor served her reduced sentence and began the mandated counseling. Tyler received occasional letters from her, which he shared with his therapist, before deciding whether to read them. Some he did, others he returned unopened. It was part of his process of establishing healthy boundaries. About 8 months after everything had happened, I finally felt ready to resume my house search. With the market improving and my savings mostly intact, I found a small but perfect 2-bedroom home with a view of the city park. It needed some cosmetic updates, but the structure was sound, and it felt like a place where I could build a future. On moving day, Dad and Tyler showed up early to help. As we arranged furniture and unpacked boxes, there was a sense of new beginnings for all of us. This room gets great natural light, Dad observed as we set up my home office. Perfect for working from home when you need to. Tyler, who had discovered an interest in design since starting therapy, had strong opinions about furniture placement. The desk should go under the window, not against the wall. Better energy flow. I laughed. When did you become an interior designer? He shrugged, a small smile playing at his lips. Just because I'm into sports doesn't mean I can't have taste. That evening, after the major unpacking was done, we sat on my new back porch with pizza and soda watching the sunset. It felt right, the three of us together, rebuilding our family on our own terms. I never thought we'd get here, Dad admitted. After everything that happened, I was afraid we'd never find our way back to being a family. We're not the same family we were, I pointed out. We're stronger now, more honest with each other. Tyler, who had been quiet for a while, suddenly spoke up. I've been thinking about what I want to study in college. Oh, Dad and I both turned to him with interest. I think maybe psychology, to understand why people do what they do. Maybe even help other kids whose parents have addiction problems. Dad's eyes glistened with pride. That sounds like a wonderful path, Tyler. We'll figure out the rest of the money somehow, I added. Between scholarships, loans, and what we've started to save again, we'll make it work. Tyler nodded, looking more at peace than I'd seen him in months. I know we will. The journey of healing wasn't over, and there would still be difficult days ahead. Eleanor's actions had left scars that would take time to fade. But sitting there with my father and brother, watching the sky turn from blue to pink to purple, I felt a profound sense of gratitude. We had weathered a terrible storm together and emerged not unscathed, but undeniably stronger. The truth had cost us much, but had given us something even more valuable: authentic relationships built on trust, respect, and unconditional love. As the stars began to appear in the darkening sky, I thought about how far we'd come from that frantic phone call in Seattle just months ago. Life could change in an instant, for better or worse. What mattered was how we responded to those changes and who we chose to become through them. I'm proud of us, I said, simply raising my soda can in a toast, for fighting for the truth, for each other, for our family. Dad and Tyler raised their cans too, the simple gesture sealing our commitment to the family we were rebuilding together. Have you ever had to stand up for the truth when it would have been easier to stay silent? What gave you the courage to speak up? If this story resonated with you, please hit the like button and subscribe for more real-life experiences. Share this with someone who might be struggling to find their voice or their truth. Thank you for listening to my journey, and remember that sometimes the hardest paths lead to the most beautiful destinations.